Look what you did, you little jerk!
Hello, and welcome to the Circle of Jerks podcast. We got a brand new episode today, a very historical episode today, as we'll be discussing the Dunkirk movie. Christopher Nolan's new film Oppenheimer is just released, and so I thought it was a good time to go back and review some of his other films, and why not choose his other World War II epic in Dunkirk. And we're also going to be talking about the original that this is a remake of. And we'll talk about all things the Battle of Dunkirk. To do that with me today, we have let's introduce the crew. We got Andy. How you doing, Andy?
What's up?
And returning favorite guest, Santa Claus, our Vietnam vet Santa.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, our Santa's been to now.
Yes, I have.
He blew shit up.
He went and got some.
I'm just very fortunate to be here.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have you.
So yeah, as I was saying, Oppenheimer has just come out, and it's a very good movie. You've heard us talk about it on Nocturnal Transmissions, the live stream we do. But a lot of people are down on Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, and I decided I wanted to revisit it because I liked it at the time. Santa and I watched it together in theaters.
Yeah.
And I kind of stumbled upon that there was an original film done in England in 1958 with the same title, Dunkirk. So I was like, well, why don't we do a movie versus movie? And we'll kind of talk about our thoughts on those, how they relate, how they live up to the story of the Battle of Dunkirk. But why don't we talk? Santa here is the World War II expert. Not that, he was in World War II. He'd be much more decrepit.
Some might think that.
Yeah, but he is a avid researcher on World War II. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about Dunkirk and what you know about it, and why it's important, why it's such an important battle? Because I don't think people realize how nuts this story is.
Well, that's why I'm very critical on some of the movies that come out about Dunkirk, because we kind of take it lightly, and we want to jump to our participation when we came in and some of the other major battles that were out there. So Dunkirk, in a lot of ways, are kind of skipped over. That's England's thing. That's not ours. But in reality, they're all tied in together.
Right.
And Dunkirk was so critical because if you go back and you look at the circumstances, this was near the beginning of the war, and England had already gone across the pond.
Yeah, because the war had just started several months before this. In '39, I believe, is when it.
'39 is when they bombed Poland, and then
the Blitzkrieg across Europe started.
Right, because they gave them an ultimatum before. They said if we wouldn't support you, France and England, if you went into Poland.
Yeah.
And then when he did, and that's when England declared war, and France declared war against Germany.
So from also what I understand too is, this is only, a couple of decades after the end of World War I. And from what it seems like, based off some of the documentaries I've watched about Dunkirk itself, is that England and France were using a lot of World War I tactics. They built this giant fortification at the Maginot Line, which is right at the border of Belgium and Germany, I believe.
Yeah, Belgium.
And trying to kind of prevent how World War I had the battlegrounds where World War I were at, and they're using a lot of these old tactics. What they didn't realize, though, is that Germany was not going to use those tactics again. They had better equipment that they had built up, and they also didn't imagine that the Germans would just go around this giant fortification. I mean, it did work to a degree, but they essentially went around all that stuff, and it started it broke that fortification. And it kept pushing the French and the English further and further, and like they kept closing in until it kind of converged at this little small port of Dunkirk, and there was.
So it's like essentially like a noose.
It was essentially they were tying a noose against these guys.
Well, they were going after strategic areas. See,
Yeah.
Dunkirk itself was the major harbor.
The other thing is because they were moving, they were moving so efficiently and quickly and the other problem too is that the communication between the English troops and the French and English and all it was a disaster. There was no communication. No one really knew what was going on, and that's also in a war. That's a horrible thing to have happen.
Right, yeah.
If you have no coordination, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And so different units, like they had their missions, but those missions didn't tie together, and they didn't. And from one unit to another, you didn't know who was doing what, and so it caused a lot of chaos and confusion. And no one knew what was going on with the RAF, the Royal Air Force. No one knew what was going on with the Navy. It was a disaster. And
it happened so quickly that there wasn't a lot of prep work done, actually. Everything was left from World War One.
Yeah.
And they, France and England, pretty much assumed that Germany would come through the same way they did before in World War One.
Nope.
But
no, for sure they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and the thing is that they've been watching what's been going on from 29 all the way up until actually this all started.
Yeah.
Of them building up and how they're doing the blitzkrieg and how they're doing all this. And it's very overwhelming on any country if you're not prepared. And I feel France was definitely not prepared. England was somewhat prepared, but kind of, in my opinion, just my opinion.
They were much better prepared, than France, but not by much.
But not by much. And the thing is that they didn't think that where Germany's going to go. I mean, when you look at the borderline between Germany, Belgium, France, and all the way down south towards Spain, you'll see that's a lot of area to cover, and what Germany actually did was they went for the key points so that they could basically starve them out. That's why it was important to take Dunkirk, and that was also why they went after the oil in the south.
Yeah, they cut off the water, they cut off the food supplies, and they tied the noose around them, and then they were trying to starve them out too. And so it's to the point where give up because you're surrounded. It's like.
And the other thing that's kind of fascinating is that Hitler was taking a lot of the playbook, as you might say, from a very France leader that had pretty much conquered all of Europe in the earlier days.
Yeah.
And you know who I'm thinking? Napoleon,
yeah.
Right.
He also made the same mistake as Napoleon later on in the war.
Absolutely. But he was a big...
That's the problem. Two fronts.
Yeah.
What can go wrong?
Yeah. As soon as that happened, I knew, I wasn't there, but I'm just saying, a two-front war doesn't work very often. But when you think about it, we had a three-point war.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, he was a big student of Napoleon, and he studied Napoleon's war tactics and everything.
Actually, we're getting a Napoleon film this year.
Oh yeah,
with Ridley Scott's with Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon.
Yeah,
that should be very interesting.
That should be good too. But Germany, when England was over there and trying to fight and put on a front, and you got to remember they were supposed to join with France, and between the two armies to hold them off. And so what happened was they knew the major port that they had to protect was Dunkirk, because that's where all the supplies came in to support France.
Right.
And so what basically ended up happening is Germans surrounded the army in Dunkirk. And when I mean surrounded, I mean totally surrounded.
There was
nowhere. And they were at a real critical point where if they didn't get some help somewhere, that was not that unpredictable that they could actually take out the whole army of England.
Yeah, I mean, there was the British Expeditionary Force. I mean, there were. Now the numbers that they're saying there was like some 400, a little over 400,000 troops. I think was it just the troops alone? Because I know there were civilians that were there.
Well, you also had the civilians who were trying to evacuate at the
I'm
same
assuming
time.
that like does that inflate the numbers to like 500,000 then maybe a little bit more than that.
The numbers are really vague.
Yeah.
The other thing that a lot of people didn't know is there was a lot of British soldiers that actually died at that battle holding them off.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There was a lot of deaths there, but they because they were thinking like, God, if we can just get 30,000 troops out of there,
Right.
That's something. But it's like they were going to lose essentially their entire fighting force, and like that would have been the end of England's fight in the war because they would have been completely devastated.
Well, that would have left Germany
Essentially, they would have
totally dominate Europe.
Yeah.
At that time. I mean, he did later on by taking France. And at one time, he did, except for some of them that stayed.
It was the Battle of Britain that really kind of helped stave off, German.
Well, the thing was, and again, what's funny is when you watch a lot of these other war movies, you'll see references to different parts, like Dunkirk, also Battle of Britain. You'll see when they tried to take over the oil wells in the south.
Yeah.
I mean, it all ties into what Germany was doing.
Right.
And the problem is that the propaganda that was going up against Germany was saying that, this crossing, even though it's only so many miles, you're not going to do it as long as they have an air force.
Yeah. Well, they also we see a little bit of the propaganda that they used in the original film from '58.
Right.
Of like look, run Adolf, run, like we got your ass, kind of like Neville Chamberlain chasing him, which is bullshit. Neville Chamberlain couldn't fucking chase anybody out of a room.
That was You just watch the movie with Patton, and that'll give you all you want to know about Chamberlain.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is also a great movie.
God, man, that was probably my grandfather's favorite movie.
That's one of for me, it's very hard to pick out one that's just what's my favorite. A lot of them.
My grandfather constantly quoted Patton and from Lawrence of Arabia. He loved Lawrence of Arabia, which I do too.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that I found interesting about learning about Dunkirk is the RAF actually became very hated during that time because from the Army's perspective, because they felt like, where the fuck where's the damn Air Force? Where's our air support? And the problem is that they were supporting them. It's just like they were fighting battles like where the Army couldn't see where they were fighting, and they actually were able to stave off a lot of the German Air Force from what they were doing, but they were outmatched. They were overwhelmed, and so some of those planes got through. The German planes got through, which is causing all that devastation on the beach. Mm-hmm. And there was until the Battle of Britain, they were not well thought of.
The Luftwaffe at that time was very strong, extremely strong.
Yeah, they were very strong,
and the numbers were just really lopsided in Germany.
I think the Luftwaffe caused like 155. They shot down like 155 English airplanes. It was nuts, some like insane number. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of heavy casualties on both sides there, but the Army wasn't seeing what the Royal Air Force was going through. Plus, Winston Churchill was asking that we need more planes to support these guys to help protect against the Luftwaffe, and the RAF commander is like, no, we need something to save for what's inevitably if they're gonna come to England. We need to protect.
Well, that's why Germany never really got in a boat to go over there to even attempt it, is because of the Air Force.
But that's
and they divided the Air Force into squadrons.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the invention of the radar is a big plus for England, so they could see what Germany was going to throw at them at one time. And the numbers, like I said in the beginning, it was something like 8-1. And the amount of German force coming over, because they were trying to wipe out, the British Air Force. That was one of the things
Right.
Names are terrible. They had promised Hitler that he could do, was to wipe out the Air Force. Then they would have made the crossing. But there's no way you can make the crossing having an Air Force, because they just blow you out of the water.
Right.
And he knew that. So you got to remember it's a time thing, and we don't have something to illustrate it. But you've got the beginning of the war. So yeah, we have troops that are over there. Okay, but we can't penetrate the number of planes that are coming at us, and we're attacking. And they had battles right offshore on the England, by France all the time, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so you've got to remember to be able to penetrate that force and then be able to support the army that's on the ground. Very difficult. And then Churchill's real dilemma was he had to protect the water in between the two. If he didn't protect that, then there's nothing to stop them from getting in a boat and invading England. So that was the primary thing. Even though your army is going over there, yeah, we'll support you as much as we can, but the primary thing for defense at that time was the waters between us.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that saved them.
I think that was like a lot of the issue too, because you want to get your troops home because you need them, but at the same time, like, you have to utilize the resources you still have left at your disposal to protect, your own country. It's like, and you're like, okay, maybe we can get like 30,000 out, and so they requisitioned, civilians got involved. They requisitioned civilian boats to help like ferry some, soldiers across. I mean, it was just, and they're thinking like, okay, we're gonna get maybe 30,000 if we're lucky. This whole thing is a freaking miracle.
Yeah. It really is.
They were able to get like 400,000 people off this damn beach. The more I learned about it, it's like I don't know how this happened. It's insane how they were estimating. Someone call it just sheer luck, coincidence. It's just like and some people are like, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. And even like the documentary I was watching, the soldiers talking about, it's like, yeah, there was no one that was an atheist on that beach that day, on that week. Just like, I mean, they were starving, they were thirsty, they had nothing.
Well, even the experts that were sitting there calculating, what's going to happen, the numbers for casualties were a lot higher than it actually was. They were very lucky and very fortunate. And they didn't know the number of boats that are going to respond from the civilian side.
It was,
and they had everybody. It wouldn't even surprise me if they really looked into it. There was a rowboat, because man, every boat that floated was going there and trying to pick up people.
Yeah.
And talk about heroes. Those people in those boats were heroes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of getting into the movie, but I think one of the things I liked about the 1958 version, is that you did see like the little stream of dinghies being pulled by the other boats,
right?
Showing the depth of, or showing like the extent of which they were trying to muster up these boats to go and save them.
Right.
Even like little tiny.
Every boat counts because of the number of people that were on shore.
Right. Yeah. But in the Nolan one, you don't really see it.
You don't.
You see the giant barrage of like civilian boats that were coming across, but like
they're not towing any like rowboats or like dinghies, like
right.
And I think,
which shows the critical point.
Yeah,
like every man counts.
Yeah. And that may have been, they didn't, the veterans didn't say like what the nitpicks were, but I bet you that was one of them. It's like, I think it was like a little bit, the originals probably has that like a little bit closer to like what happened with that. Like whereas like you got guys that are dragging like 5 boats, just to get like. If I can get like, okay, my boat can fit 20, but if I string these other boats along with me that I can just drag, that's another 20 people. I can take 40 now.
Right.
It's stuff like that I think.
When you start thinking of the numbers, when you sit down and crunch the numbers of how many people were there, and we can't send, what kind of boat can we send over there, right? And so you're thinking and figuring out numbers, raw numbers. They didn't have enough boats.
Yeah.
See, and that was the issue. That's why they called on the civilians. Anything that floats, let's send it over because that can relate to saving a life.
Yeah.
And the importance of saving that army is astronomical for England. And because who knows from that point, where it would have went.
Right.
And the 2 movies, to me, because we've had this debate before. I'm not a big fan of the new one. Okay, the new one, beautiful photography. I mean, I can't say enough about
technology.
Yeah, modern technology to do this film was fantastic, I thought. My real criticism, and then comparing it to the new one, I mean, the old one had me kind of sitting on the edge of the couch, anxious because there was more drama for me in that one.
Okay.
And showed the so much importance of trying to get over and save them because they didn't think they could save them.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a last minute thing they called on the civilians.
And I think that we're going to talk about the different. We're going to touch on that in just a second.
Okay. Maybe I'm getting ahead.
But you're getting a little bit, but that's okay. No, but because I think and I think this also might be a difference in like how you want to see the film portrayed.
True.
Because I'm going to touch on something that the director talked about and like how he wanted the film portrayed versus like what they were doing in the original. Because there is a big difference in both those films. So why don't we give the synopses for the films and we'll dive into it.
This is the synopsis for the 1958 Dunkirk. A group of soldiers led by Corporal Tubby Binns, stranded in France, must make their way to the shores of Dunkirk in hopes of rescue. Back in Britain, Charles Foreman, a newspaper reporter, desperately tries to raise awareness among the public of the horrible reality of war. When the British Navy calls for all civilian ships to aid in the rescue, Foreman takes out his own small boat and attempts to bring Tubby and his men to safety. This is the synopsis for Dunkirk.
2017? Yeah.
In May 1940, Germany advanced into France, trapping Allied troops on the beaches of Dunkirk. Under air and ground cover for British and French forces, troops were slowly and methodically evacuated from the beach using very serviceable naval and civilian vessels that could be found. At the end of this heroic mission, 330,000 French, British, Belgian, and Dutch soldiers were safely evacuated.
So one thing that I would know about the original that I like both films. Spoiler alert, I like both. The original I think deals kind of with giving us the whole picture. We have the interaction with our main
from top down.
From the top down. So we have like our main crew that we with the group that Tubby is leading around. We also get some interaction with the civilians. Most notably, Richard Attenborough's character, very young Richard Attenborough.
Yeah.
He's a buckle maker. So we have like some interaction with the civilians, but we also have we see the heads of like the army and navy, the brass. So we're getting kind of the whole picture. We also see the ever growing tension of like, oh, the Germans are playing, and like they have that song that's playing. I don't know the name of the song. I wonder if it's on the Wikipedia page of like they're talking about like song they're singing, but like you get that song that's playing like with those two acapellas, and you see the map starting to converge where the Germans are starting to close in.
Noose.
Yeah, the news starts tightening in, which is, I think is actually very well done, because you see like as things progress, things are getting worse and worse for our characters, and like you said, the tension builds up for you. You're like on the edge of your seat. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh, you know, are they gonna make it? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, spoiler alert, they make it. You know, but man, it's a. I would actually argue that this film, the original, is much more graphic and bloody than the new one. We see more people dying, with like, you know, like, ah, shit, like my eye, like in my eye, and, you know, they see the guy's eye. Well, not like, you know, up close, not like a '80s like slasher film.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you see the guy's face get blown up, and like, you know, guys.
That's actually true. While there is death, you don't necessarily. Yeah, it's not like. It's not like a Saving Private Ryan. Where
No.
You see like the bullets, like being being riddled with bullets, or
You got to remember that the older films were censored too, and you didn't get away with a lot of heavy.
we're comparing.
No, I'm saying that
Oh, okay.
I'm saying the original is much more graphic and bloody.
Yeah,
than
that's what I'm saying.
Than the remake.
Right,
That's which is shocking.
because the older ones are censored form.
No.
What they got away with though is, I think, is more graphic than we got.
No, you would expect
No
that.
one.
Most people, I think, were expecting the new one to have a little bit more like gore and blood, similar to like Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
We don't get that at all.
No.
It's not that type of film.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. The original is much more in that vein,
Right.
which to me is surprising. Just because, yeah, you like said, the censors normally would kind of. But yeah, we see a lot of that, you know, the blood and the destruction that happens. Yeah, so that was kind of shocking to me.
Right.
But like the stuff that we were talking about with, you know, like, oh, we gotta preserve certain things, and like we gotta get these guys off the beach, but we also have to hold something back because we don't know what we're gonna be able to get off of that beach. And you get more of that in the original. So like I said, and I think that helps you, like, why you like that.
Because I think the new one mixes in more of the civilian numbers that you see in the new one versus the old one.
So here's what Christopher Nolan was trying to do, and because I watched a bunch of interviews with him talking about this film, like what his goal was with the film. And I think he accomplished his goal. He didn't want to have, because he wanted to do something different from like what other people had done with this story. He didn't in other war films. He didn't want to have like the brass and like the giant maps and like kind of like seeing how things were going. He wanted to tell the story from the people that were involved. So the army, the people that were on the ground, the civilians that were like going by boat to converge on there, and the RAF, because he knows that the RAF was doing something, but they were limited in their power. So we get that story too, which is we don't get what's going on with the RAF in the original. That's something that's missing.
That's true. Basically, they were pulling the Germans away from the landing area with the other planes. That's what the whole purpose was.
And in typical Nolan fashion, there is a time factor that's that's playing here. So like our people that are on the beach, all that is happening in the course of 1 week. So we're so things are getting, you know, a little bit stretched out there. The people that are going, the civilians that are coming by boat to try to rescue these guys, you know, their events are happening through like about 1 day. And the by air, that's over the course of 1 hour. You know, so it's like and all these events converge at the end, which I think is a kind of a brilliant way to tell the story, because sometimes it's like, wait, didn't we just see this scene where, like, when we were in the plane? And it's like, oh no, it's telling, now we're seeing those same events from the beach and from the civilian ships on the ocean. So I liked how that was done, but he wanted to make sure, like, no, we're gonna tell this story for the people that from the people that were there from their perspective, and so we get a little bit more of the confusion, the chaos, there's still chaos in the original, but as far as like you have the soldiers like, where the fuck is the Air Force? It's like, where are those guys?
We all kind of say that when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, where's the air support? God damn it!
You know, like, when you're getting shot at, you go, man, where's my Air Force?
It's like you probably had a few of those moments.
Yeah.
Like, where the fuck is the air support? God damn it!
How come we can't get a plane? You know?
It's like fuck. So I like what he's trying to do, and I think he does the story very well. I mean, and you do have there's in both there's stuff that's done for dramatic tension to tell a story, because that's what they're doing. There's documentaries that can, if you want like the actual facts. But like this is we can be a little bit more artsy.
Punched up. It's punched up.
Like Tubby probably didn't exist as a real person, but that doesn't matter. Same thing with like our characters in this. They probably didn't. Those people didn't exist, but like people like them existed. And so some of the drama that happens with those characters probably didn't happen. See, it's kind of similar to like Titanic. Oh God, similar to like Titanic.
There's room for both of them, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying it now. There's room for both of them.
Yeah, I'm just, but I like what I'm a little biased because I do really like Christopher Nolan's films. I like what he does. I think he's one of the best living directors that we have right now. I think his work is fantastic, and he did, when I got out of there, because I knew it wasn't going to be a bloody war film like Saving Private Ryan, because that's not Nolan's style, really. He's not a blood and guts type of guy.
Well, it's all in how you use it.
Yeah, well, trust me, Saving Private Ryan was freaking effective. That was a great film.
Oh yeah.
There's death and stuff in Inception. Leo's going around like stabs people. It's not like the blood,
we're not.
It's not like the squib, like the huge thing of blood coming out.
Yeah. We're not
it's very clean.
We're not having people's guts like ripped out.
Yeah, it's very clean.
I mean, maybe Insomnia is maybe like his bloodiest film. That would probably be his bloodiest film, maybe.
If it's just a gore film, I'm not into those.
No, I don't.
No.
Yeah.
But that isn't what I was referring to, though.
Yeah.
It's just that in realistic form, I thought that they were. I didn't see the urgency.
So you felt more urgency in the original.
Yes.
What? So since you like the original better, what aspects of that film what did you really like about it? Like,
well, I like the suspense. They built up to the point of the actual rescue, but I think they did more coverage on how critical it is to get them out and how dire it was to get them out. And that's what I'm referring to. Not so much of the photography and everything that they did, which was beautiful, but I mean, to build up to the point where you don't know if they're going to make it or not, and how critical it was for them to make it.
Yeah, okay.
That's the thing. I just didn't feel that in the new one.
Yeah, because
even though I know the outcome.
Yeah. Well, it's like the other thing too. The time frame with the films. We start from before the events of what becomes the Battle of Dunkirk. Because we're following our army guys. They're at like some sort of event where they're watching the newsreels and the propaganda stuff and whatever. But then they realize something's going on. Like the brass like knows something's going on because they're probably like at the kind of the start of this, like at the Maginot Line, all that stuff, and then they realize something's going on and realize like that news is starting to tighten. So we get that aspect. With the remake of Dunkirk, we're there at like the last like week, essentially. Like we're like kind of like the critical moment.
Right.
Like, fuck, are we gonna make it off this goddamn beach? And the only time that I think you actually make a good point. Like the only thing that we get as far as the urgency. I mean, there is urgency that's shown there, but all we get is the leaflets that come flying that the Germans sent down. It's like showing their like
they're being surrounded.
Yeah, and
right.
And I think it's kind of funny though, like the connection between, because we do get the leaflets that come down, and was it Tubby is the character's name in the original? Yeah, he was like, well, boys, you know what you can do with that piece of paper. It's like,
just what I needed.
Yeah, and then, but then, which is funny.
The tie into the Nolan one is like that one soldier, he takes a couple of sheets and like
starts to, is going to take a shit.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, I thought that was.
That's what it was used for.
I thought that was brilliant.
That's a nice little tie-in.
But it's.
They got to tie in the good parts.
Yeah, but yeah, like you're right. The only really sense of urgency that we kind of get as far as like
I think
those events.
Basically, there was more built up.
Yeah.
I believe in the old one versus the new.
And I think what
maybe that's what
I'm sure, and I know the soldiers and the civilians, they knew that they're like, it's dire. Like, we need to get off. Everyone's wanted to get off that goddamn beach. They knew the situation, but like especially for you, but maybe for other people in the audience, it didn't quite hit. And it's like, we know that this story is important and that their situation was really bad, but the actors knew that it was serious. We need to get off this beach. But maybe us as the audience, it didn't quite hit everybody.
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to how much it's publicized, even in today's books or history. The way it's told it's kind of like a minor battle.
No one talks about,
at least in America.
Yeah, no one talks about Dunkirk here. No one knows that. No. To be honest, I didn't really know much about it until doing research for the episode. I didn't really know much.
Yeah, I never even heard of it, even like prior to the movie coming out.
Oh no,
he's in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually didn't really know that much.
Even in some of the older World War II movies, they have bits and pieces of the rescue.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like
when they're
they'll make other references like we're done.
Oh yeah. Well, there's another.
I know.
And I can't think of the title, but I think it's. Nah, I don't want to tell you because I don't know for sure.
Well, I mean, like
they have one where they our group of soldiers go across the river and basically smuggle a whole bunch of troops out, and it was the preceding of Dunkirk, and so they were rescuing this battalion.
Oh wow, okay.
And and things were going on besides the Battle of Dunkirk.
Oh yeah, like
you still had the troops that were still stuck in France, and all of them that were along that circle that were fighting, trying to keep the Germans back. And then, like I said, in other war movies, they touch on those parts. So it could be because of the history I know of other movies and how they portray the English soldiers, which were very good. They were better than our soldiers as far as training was concerned at that time.
They were much more better trained and because they had been. What is it they got? Well, I mean, a lot of those.
Well, because England's conquer of these other countries and their territories and stuff, they've been in other issues of other countries that Britain had, and so it's nothing new for the British soldier,
right?
Where for us, you've got World War One, and then you got to go a long ways back before World War One before we're even involved. But
right,
and it could be that's where I'm getting the bias from.
Okay,
but it's still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed watching it, and
I would say this: did you enjoy it more with this viewing as opposed to when you first watched it?
Well, anytime I rewatch a movie, I pick up more on it. It just, oh man, I don't remember that, or oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that before, and that's just me.
Yeah,
I watch. I got a collection that covers a whole wall as far as videos.
I know you have your physical collection is something to be it's something to be ogled at.
Yeah, it takes a moving van, and in turn, what it does is I watch them over and over again.
Yeah,
and still get enjoyment out of it. it's just like we had talked about Red October. We talked
Fuck, that
about
movie's awesome.
Robert just watched it for the first time.
Yeah, I watched it with
he
him.
watched it with me.
I love that.
It's so freaking good.
And all these tie in to a lot of these different producers and directors and how they want to portray that period of time in history. Red October was right in the threat of the nuclear subs just coming out.
Yeah.
So that one, so there's always some kind of behind the scenes that wants to draw you to go see that movie.
Yeah.
Now, the new one that you're referring to with the atomic bomb, you got to go back a ways for like Big Boy. What's the earlier? There's another one that's even earlier than that, where they talk about the development of the bomb. And
I know there's a show too with the Manhattan Project that was pretty good
right,
as well.
Manhattan Project was good too.
Yeah, I like that show. My dad liked that show, which is kind of surprising.
And then also, what's interesting though is the history behind it.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't know, and I learned later. Kind of getting off the subject, I'll get back. But Tennessee was a big part of that.
Yeah, it was.
And I didn't know that. I thought it was all just, in New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico. There was Chicago, Tennessee, and
I believe Seattle.
Yeah, there was like 4 quadrants that they were working out of and like converting it. And
they put all the
New
pieces
Mexico
together.
was kind of like that center.
Mexico was a testing center.
Yeah, so they all kind of like converged like in.
These others are like people making parts.
Yeah, New Mexico was like the center
part
in this.
Yeah, because there's a great movie on just the manufacturing of some of the goods in Tennessee and what the people went through that worked there.
Yeah,
pretty neat.
Well, let me get your thoughts a little bit on Nolan's Dunkirk. Like, what do you talk about how like you didn't feel the sense of urgency? So that's something you don't like. Was there what do you like about the film? Is there anything you like? Well,
again, I thought the storytelling of itself was good, other than that portion of it.
Okay, you like the story
overall. Like, let's say the old one, I'd probably give an 8. And then I would say the new one, I would give a 6.
Oh wow, okay.
So they're not that far apart, but it's just when I expected more out of the new one than what we got.
I'll say I really like I like the Air Force part of the new one. I thought, because we don't really get.
That's graphics.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the spectacle of that. Okay, I'm sorry.
And the special effects.
Plus, I like Tom Hardy. I think he's great. You have the Fortis leader is Michael Caine.
The voice.
The voice, yeah. He's the one that's on the radio. It's like, all right, Fortis 1. Yeah, it's Michael Caine that's on there.
Yeah. Gotta use somebody who's got some kind of English.
Nolan's usual.
Nolan runs through he has his cast of characters that he loves. Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, Michael Caine.
No, they had great acting.
Yeah. I'll say I like the time aspect of the new one. I thought that was kind of like how all the events kind of converge at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really well done. I liked. It looks beautiful. I think the music is great in that.
Everything else was nice. I mean,
But I get what you're saying though. Yeah, it doesn't. For me, I maybe because I know the story, it's it's getting kind of tense right now. I want to know what happens here. And we do, towards the end, we do get a little bit of the sense of oh fuck, are they gonna make it? You have all those the German bomber takes out that ship, and there's all that oil leaking in the water, and they're trying to all the civilian ships are trying.
That's because that's another element of time. Hurry up and get them on the ship before they ignite the hole.
Yeah, and so there's that aspect of it.
And they were being scraped by aircraft.
Yeah, and so then it's early on we have with the RAF guys, the Team Fortis, they're one of the planes gets taken out really quickly. So now we're down to 2. the fuel aspect is a huge. Just like, why are they not going over here? Like, we're wasting so much fuel. It's like, well, this is where they're at. Like, there is no going over there because there's Germans there. You know, you're fucked. So. And
you got, and that's why the little criticism says, "Well, where's the Air Force?" You know.
Yeah, and it's like, where were you guys the whole time?
He's up there fighting the Germans. I don't know where you're at.
Yeah, and it's like, but like some people saw it. It's just like the soldiers didn't see it. That's like why they were so reviled at the time.
No, I understand that part of it.
But like that. Oh shit, is he gonna get that last bomber? Is he gonna shoot him down? There's that tension. There's the tension of like, oh shit, like the shell-shocked soldier that they rescue from the boat, who ends up killing, the young kid on accident. It was a horrible accident. So you're like, he ain't gonna make it. Like, but are they gonna rescue these guys? Like, are they gonna get taken down by the bomber? Because we see that a lot in the original. We don't see as much of the damage to the civilian ships in the Nolan one as we do in
when you're dropping bombs on people. I mean,
they were hitting those civilian ships, so you gotta believe that they weren't. So there's that aspect too, and it's like So I like the tension. There is tension in the new one, but I see what you're saying. It's not the tension of the actual situation that they're in. Really isn't as pronounced as the original has.
Yeah, it could be minimized.
I really like both those films though.
No, I like them both. Don't get me wrong.
And
I just that's my that's my interpretation.
That's
of the
okay.
movie.
So that's
based on my history and also history of all the different war movies that I've watched. It's different.
Andy, how about you?
And a good way to explain that was, and I know we have this same argument too, is about Pearl Harbor movies.
Oh God, the Ben Affleck Pearl Harbor movie is fucking garbage. I hate that movie.
He hates it. I like it. But it's different. It's a story about a person,
I'll take From Here to Eternity any fucking day over the Ben Affleck Pearl Harbor.
That's not even the category there.
Oh my goodness.
Or Sands of Iwo Jima with John Wayne.
I have not seen that yet.
Oh man, that's another good one. Real good one.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do like a World War II run at some point, because I gotta watch some of these.
I'll have to get out my big list.
I've only barely scratched the surface on World War II films.
Well, meanwhile, I think what I'll do for you is I'll put together a list.
The next one, actually.
And then I'll try to rate them.
Yeah.
And then I'll have you guys pick out which ones you want, because we could spend weeks and months on all the different war movies.
Maybe we'll do like a World War II month. We'll just have you on for the episode. Yeah, we'll do a series on World War II films another one
a lot of people don't think of is Casablanca as a World War II movie.
It's my favorite film of all time.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, actually one movie I'd love to do with you is The Guns of Navarone and Force 10 from Navarone.
Oh yeah.
Because I love both those films.
Now there's two versions of Guns of Navarone.
Well, there's the one that was on in the 80s with Harrison Ford and which is Force 10 from Navarone, which I love. Right. I love that film.
Right.
But then there's the Gregory Peck version, The Guns of Navarone, which is
the one I think is the best.
We might have an argument on that one.
We'll have to watch them both.
Yeah.
They're both good. Don't get me wrong. And the thing is, they're not that much separated other than the actors.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. The story pretty much follows the same as the other one.
Well, Andy, what are your thoughts on both films? What do you like? Is there anything you like, dislike?
I enjoyed both movies. Fully acknowledging recency bias, but I do tend to enjoy the Christopher Nolan stuff a little bit more because of the modern storytelling aspects of it. But the 58 one, it's good too. Although I would say that I appreciate Nolan casting younger actors for the parts of the soldiers, because in the 58 one, it's like you guys look like middle age. All the boys, like these boys, like these young men, it's like dude, you look like you're 45.
It's like, you, yeah.
Looks like he's 45. He has like a mortgage and like 7 kids. You know?
Yeah.
You call him boys. And I guess the one gripe I do have is that Tubbs didn't get a promotion at the end of the.
That's bullshit.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He was a corporal, but he didn't like after all of that he went through.
That guy should be like a sergeant major at
Exactly.
least at
After
the end of
getting
that
all
shit.
his guy, well, most of
That would be another movie, though.
That would be another movie.
Right.
Adventures of Tubbs.
Because
I'd be down with that.
usually after a big battle or something, that is usually a lot of guys will get a promotion,
Right, yeah.
medals, whatever, and then it's another chapter. You don't wear the medals on your chest over.
Right.
Only time you really notice it is when you get into your dressés, and then everybody puts them on. But and you're doing it for the other guy.
And I appreciate it at the end where it's just like they're stacking in, drilling and things like that for the next fight.
Yeah, because there's more fights to be had. It's like, okay, you guys survived Dunkirk, that's great, but you guys, we gotta get back in shape. This is just the beginning. We gotta.
Yeah. And they did. They regrouped, and there were a lot of things that went on I didn't like, but that's politics involved with it as well.
Yeah.
That's what ruins all the wars, is politics, as far as that goes.
Was it in Patton? Like he talks to us, like that's what happens when you stop being a patriot, you start being an ally.
Yeah. Yeah. He said a lot of things that got him in trouble.
God, I love that guy.
That guy had no filter, and I'm all about it.
Yeah. God, if we just listened to him and MacArthur, I think things would have.
When you actually hear some of the testimony from the guys that actually worked the tanks and worked underneath him, they would follow him to hell. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have run through a wall for that guy
because his tactics were solid.
Yeah.
And it's like you'll see this in many movies. They tell new guys that come in and says, "Hey, don't worry about it. You're already dead." And then you get over that fear and you get down to business. But that was all about Patton. He would stand out there and shoot his pistol at aircraft shooting at him.
God, yeah. He's a fucking crazy son.
That's actually one of the scenes I really enjoyed in Band of Brothers. That one guy who had cerebral blindness,
Mm-hmm.
and that a lieutenant from another company saw him. He's like, yeah, because he's like, oh, I'm scared. He's like, yeah, we're all scared. Your problem is, you think you're gonna get out of here.
Exactly.
I was like, you have to know, you're already dead.
You're already dead.
That's the only way you.
That came from the lieutenant when he started the rumor with the smokes.
Yeah, and shooting
all the Germans.
Yeah.
POWs.
Yeah. So it's like you'll resurrect yourself. Just kidding.
But I saw like a little clip from like a documentary, and supposedly, like he fessed up to it.
Oh, he did do it.
Yeah, he did all the things.
When you talk to most of the world, and I've had the opportunity to talk to some World War II veterans.
Oh, that must have been awesome.
In my VFW career that I had for a while. And it's fascinating because I love Pearl Harbor and everything about it. And I've really studied that one a lot. And then had the privilege of sitting down with 2 surviving people that were on the boat.
Oh, shit.
And one of them, his story was, and you probably heard it in history books and everything else, that Sunday, what they had was he was at a poker game Saturday, okay, and he won. And so then he bought the day off because he was supposed to have the duty for Sunday, okay, and so he had his partner, and so he bought him off, says, hey, you cover me and I'll give you some money. He said, okay. He got killed. He didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's from a person that was actually there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stories based that I've heard personally from these guys. Another guy that was on, what was it? I'm going blank. And I have a picture. I got to show you that. It's a World War picture that was taken down from Japan when we finally took over.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a big picture. It's 3 by 15, I think it is. It's a good sized square like this. and it's the picture from the cameraman of a Zero at the attack.
Oh.
Whoa, shit.
Like
And you-
targeting like the Arizona. And...
Yeah. Well, you'll see in the picture, you'll see a splash, which was a torpedo
Yeah.
coming in. You can see torpedoes coming in. You can also see the other planes flying around. You can see bombs being dropped that missed the plane because this is still shot.
Yeah.
Okay. It's phenomenal.
You can see this.
You can see the battleship row and all of them lined up ahead of time. This is as they were coming into attack. And phenomenal picture. But be able to sit there and talk, which really was phenomenal for me. I loved it. To talk to a guy that, was right there and you can, pick his brain about what it was really like, in it. Yeah, it's an opportunity. I took advantage of as much as I could without bugging them.
So what's this like? What's that like?
Yeah. Well, some of it, I'd already been back from Vietnam, so I'd already had my taste. So I know what to ask and what not to ask. I was more or less interested in the history and what they thought. Here you are, you're on shore and you see your ship getting attacked. What do you do?
Yeah, that's got to be pretty intense.
It is very intense talking to them too. And some of them you can see they start to choke up.
Well, I know, because as a NASCAR fan, like one of the he's now since passed away, but one of the famous Cup owners in NASCAR was Bud Moore, and he was a World War II veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff that he just wouldn't talk about. And he's like, I don't want to. He did talk about how it's like. I heard an interview with him before he passed about how it's like, where it's like he prayed to God, it's like, yeah, if you help me get out of this, I'll never come back again. And he made it through. Right. And he's like, and even like when they were having like some of the celebrations, like he never went back. He's just like, nope, that chapter is closed. I am out of here.
And I can see that because there's some guys that are going back to Vietnam, and
would you ever do that?
No,
I don't blame you. Fuck that.
I don't have any inkling at all of going back. There's nothing there but sad memories and friends that didn't come home.
Yeah.
So why would I want to go there?
Fuck that, yeah.
I really don't. I have enough trying to suppress what I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you even talk about too, like where it's like certain smells or like sounds that just like, and you're right back 50 years ago.
I'm right there. Oh yeah. It's just like, and what happens is it flashes in my brain, and literally I see the picture.
It's fucked, dude. It just.
And so
just some images seared into your brain.
Yeah. And some of the guys from World War II, you see, you got to understand, it starts in World War. It starts in World War One.
Shell shock, yeah.
They call it shell shock. Okay, see, everyone's picked up a different terminology as we
George Carlin talks about this in one of his bits.
Yeah.
Shell shock, battle fatigue.
Right. See, World War II was battle fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay, my era, it's STP. I mean, PTSD.
Yeah.
In ours, and the thing that they've learned over all these years, and why I can talk about a lot of this stuff, it doesn't bother me, is because I've learned how I was in basically groups talking to other veterans, other Vietnam veterans, and if you can talk it out and then you can find peace with it. And that's what they do nowadays so people can be more functional. Not all people can do that, and it's mainly because not everybody has the same experiences either. I know guys that did come back that I've talked to that had it a lot worse than I did. And I'm wondering, wow, man, how are you handling this? You see, and that's what we talk about in those meetings. So in World War I and World War II, they just chalked it up as shell shock and just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Okay. They never learned how to really get along with it.
Process what was going on.
And if you look at the records, what you find is there's a higher suicide levels in World War I, World War II, than there is even in Vietnam. Because of it. Because
Oh yeah, specifically in World War One, it was the first time there was mechanized warfare, grinder, just the levels of death.
Because they were using tactics that you would. Oh, because even going back to the Civil War, like the technology had gone to a certain degree where, though it was a meat grinder essentially, like where a lot of people just died, and it just increased.
But they didn't die right away.
Right.
Most
and
of
it
the
just
deaths
increased
come from like the field hospitals.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
Yeah.
Infection,
And
But just like the instant, like immediate, like the devil's paintbrush, the vaccine machine guns, the explosives and things like that. Just
the no man's land,
yeah,
and like
people
in
see
the,
that
in
when
the
they
biological warfare with the gassing.
yeah, the
Right.
gas.
Right. Then when they started getting into artillery, that's when it shakes your shit up,
Yeah.
big time. I mean, there's
When you like, I'm not a combat veteran, so I'm not saying that, but like even like because I was on Camp Hilton, I lived there for a number of years.
you heard of them working out.
Oh yeah, like and then
And you're miles and miles away,
and it's like it shakes the shit out of like and they're doing this test like miles away. And if you're up close to that shit, fuck no, that is scary shit.
It's really scary
It
shit.
shakes you to your fucking core.
What they teach us is, and I remember it really good from grenade class. Okay, and they teach you how to throw a grenade. Okay, and you got basically 3 grenades. Okay, you got phosphorus, you've got percussion, and you got fragmentation. Okay, they each have a different what they call a kill zone. So if you think of a dartboard, okay, so the closer you are to that dot, the higher the number is you're going to get killed, okay, on any of them. And what's funny is when you get into the percussion and the fragments, one thing, because the distance between those two are a little bit different, not much, but you can outrun it, okay? So you can throw, let's say, 25 yards accurately. You got so many seconds before it goes off. You can run like hell and then duck down and you're fine, even with the frag. When it comes to phosphorus, this is the one that always got us. Is when you throw a phosphorus, you can't outrun it. The kill zone or injury zone is beyond your distance to run. It's big. And so we heard that and we just went, holy moly. He says, even a track guy, he says, is not going to outrun it.
God damn.
And that's from the injury. Okay.
Yeah.
The injury boundary is something like, God, I don't remember now, but it's wide, it's big, because it blossoms out like an umbrella.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah. So when you think just from a grenade, now multiply into a 155 artillery. That leaves a hole about 3 feet deep and 12 feet wide.
Yeah.
When it goes off, everything shakes. And then there's the percussion itself from it, which has got a kill zone too. Okay, and that's why in World War I and World War II, they had a lot of that going on, and that's why they had more shell shocks. They were around artillery.
I also went into like,
and they can't hear.
I also went into because like World War I and II, those were fought. A lot of that was fought over in Europe. I mean, we also had the Pacific War as well, but that must have been really tough because you're essentially kind of fighting on somewhat near your home turf. Like it's like I wonder like if that kind of fucked with those guys a little bit more because like you can't really get away from where like unlike you because you were fighting in a whole other country like in Vietnam. Yeah. Same thing with guys who fought in the Pacific.
Right.
It's like or a lot of American wars you're going somewhere else. There hasn't been a lot of wars fought here outside of like I don't know about the Revolutionary War veterans or or Civil War veterans, but most of our wars have been fought other places.
Yeah.
So in a way, you can kind of get away. You don't really get away, but you're at least not in the same fucking place that you were fighting these wars at. Where unlike the guys like the European soldiers, like the British, the French, like they're
Even the Germans.
The Germans too, like it's like
fighting in your own backyard.
Because I mean, we just did a review of Das Boot, and which is it's not a pro-German film, but like you sympathize with our characters, and like they're not Nazis. They're just
that was the big difference in World War II, though.
Yeah.
Most even the guys that I talked to, because one of my proteges in the VFW was in the infantry, and he was from Normandy. He went all the way into Germany.
Yeah.
Okay, and come home. And I talked to him a lot about
that's crazy.
Yeah, and some of it he just won't talk about.
I don't blame him.
No, he didn't, and I don't push it. I see you want to talk about it. I'm here. But anyway, the thing is that when you come home, that's why you feel safe to a certain degree.
Yeah.
At first you feel safe, but you'll hear a car backfire and then
shit.
Yeah, and it takes a little while to get used to. Got used to something like that, and at first it bothers you, and then it goes away fairly quick for me. Even though we used to sit up on top of the hooch and watch rockets go into the Benoit Air Base, for entertainment at night.
Right.
But it's a totally different thing for them, because it is, the ones that do live there, because if you go there, you're going to find all kinds of stuff that's still around, bullet holes in buildings, all kinds of stuff. Unexploded
landmines.
Even here's something that's kind of wild. I lived in Tennessee for almost 9 years, and one of the things that I learned there was like the war's not over. Civil War is still going on over there.
So the South shall rise again.
The South, I haven't forgot that damn Yankee, and you get some of that. But everywhere you go throughout Tennessee is a war remembrance thing.
Yeah, there's a monument.
Yeah.
There's a monument. There's the Battle of Franklin, which was right near where I lived. There's a building, and it's sitting there, and it's got 7 bullet holes right in the side of the building.
Damn.
And then you go further up the road, because this is the way I went to work. And then we went up the road, and then you can see where the Yankee artillery was up here shooting at the guys down here, And then in the Battle of Franklin, not too far away from that area, is a mansion, Southern Mansion. And that was the hospital for the Confederate soldiers.
Okay.
And there was like 3 generals that got killed and were there. And then there's a Confederate cemetery right there too. So, but now, like even you say, here at home, there's still stuff around. You're just not in the battle zone.
Yeah.
If you get into the battle zone, you'll find all kinds of stuff. They have guys that were going out that I knew that with metal detectors, and they get permission to go out there, and they're finding relics.
That's great.
From the Civil War. And I said, wow, that's pretty wild.
I heard that they found a rifle, and it was like the barrel was like completely filled with shot.
Wow.
Because from a soldier that's that was like so traumatized, they just constantly he didn't fire off his rifle, just constantly was reloading his musket.
Lucky he didn't blow himself up in the musket too.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause he was so affected, he was so traumatized, just constantly was packing it in and broke out.
See, that's some other things that back there you can find all kinds of information and stuff on battles.
Yeah, we actually stumbled upon a few things because some of those guys survived to a certain point, where technology advanced. We had radio. There was interviews that were done. So we were actually able to listen to some recordings of Civil War veterans, and it's just fascinating listening to what really,
particularly
the Confederate soldiers.
Oh yeah,
God, that was so fascinating.
Well, see, our Union Army was so much more advanced and prepared, and have multiple.
Well, not at the beginning of the war, that's for sure. But they.
Well, the difference is that you're going against the Confederate Army that lived in this town. Okay.
Yeah.
And they put platoons together from neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting in your neighborhood, don't you think you got an advantage? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and there was a lot of ambushing going on and stuff like that. And
well,
then,
this goes back to like what we were talking about with Dunkirk stuff, like where
Right.
the communication.
right.
Initially, at the start of the war, the tacticians on the Confederate side, much better communication. They were much better. They had better strategies. The Union soldiers were like, the Union generals were terrible until Grant came in, and Grant really like turned things around. And they also had the overwhelming numbers.
Because Grant went to the same school.
Yeah, well, that also helped.
That
Left
helps.
that true.
Yeah. He was a president too, you know.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I mean, Ulysses as well as
Yeah, Robert E. and
Robert.
They all went to.
They all went to West Point.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, like he was.
but what I'm getting at is the Confederate part was more crude than the Union was. Union was more organized.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they fought better at the beginning,
No.
but and if you talk to somebody in the South, you'll know why.
Yeah. But,
I talk English good.
Yeah.
yeah. But,
What do you mean we lost?
yeah,
No, they're great people, and
they are.
But everywhere you go around Tennessee, though, you'll find a battle.
Yeah, we talk.
And I did go visit Gettysburg.
Yeah, we talk about on our live stream a lot. We end up talking a lot about the Civil War and like how there's a lot going on there that like people don't realize that
Yeah.
it's not. Everyone wants to make it a black and white issue, and
And
it's
to the point Robert was making about recordings of the Confederate soldiers, it wasn't like the brass, it was the foot soldiers,
Right.
every day, and just like hearing their perspective and why they were fighting. And just,
God, it was
Well, when
it was a revelation. I was so curious, like, what did those guys like? Why were they? Why we know like why certain people were fighting, but why were they fighting? Like, 'cause I mean, obviously they were conscripted, but like there
Well,
had to be a reason. Why, like, because some of these guys
But see-
volunteered.
Yeah, well, most of them volunteered. The thing is that you got to remember that in the beginning of the Civil War, it was all about state rights.
Bingo.
And they wanted to separate from the Union because
They
they
felt-
didn't like.
Because the contract in the Constitution says like if the federal government oversteps its bounds, you can pull out.
Right.
yeah, voluntary.
But the thing was, from the Union side of it, is we wanted to keep the Union together. We wanted to all be the United States. Didn't want all these divisions.
Which I understand.
Which I understand at that point. I really did. I says, if, that would be like the federal government coming, well, actually, they're doing it. I should say.
Yeah.
Even today, they're going against some of the rights that some of the states don't. Lately, it's been on the abortion issue, where some states, some states are saying, no, we're going to stand on our guns and you can't have an abortion in my state. And then there's other states who are saying, okay, I'm going to grant it. Well, even though the subject's different, it's the same.
People to come to the state to have it.
Yeah. Well, that's what California was.
Yeah.
And so what I'm getting at is basically it's the same thing that happened in the Civil War under different issues.
right.
Okay. Then later, Lincoln made it he wanted to free all the blacks, but that came later. That didn't come right away.
Yeah.
Right.
And
No, you should see some of his language, like like what he thought about that stuff. Everyone thinks that's what kind of started the war. It's not.
no. Well, some people want you to think that's what it was.
And I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing that's.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
like-
either. But what I'm saying, and he did that, is because in the beginning of the war we were losing.
Yeah.
I mean, we were losing big time.
Right. I mean, it's no different from like W here, where it's like, oh, we're gonna get the terrorists. It's like, okay, now we're going into Iraq. Why are we going into Iraq?
Right.
Oh, because
Because the terrorists went
because the
there.
terrorists went there, and they have weapons, and Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. And the nigga tried to kill my father.
Well, and it wasn't a bad thing taking him out, though. in my opinion, because of what he did.
I mean, he's a bad person.
He's a bad person.
Yeah.
It's like,
No,
fuck that guy.
but the point of when he went into another country and tried to steal their oil and take over their country, that's when I said, hey, that's enough. You want to screw up your own country's fine, but when you want to expand and exploit another country because your army's bigger than theirs, then I got a problem with that. Even though we built his army.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we gave him all the toys to go against Iran.
But well, we did drift a little bit, but that's okay.
No,
we're talking about war,
Yeah.
and we're talking about war films,
Right.
and I love both these films. I think the original Dunkirk from 1958 is great in its own right. It's a British production, so obviously they have much more of a.
They have a different perspective.
They have a different perspective, and I think what I like about that one, we get a little bit of the whole picture, a little bit.
That's what I like
So
about it.
it was what you like about the film.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Christopher Nolan version from 2017, it has a little bit more of a flash and panache to it.
It's
More
it's
of a
tighter,
modern-
It's a tighter story.
It's a little bit tighter, and I just like both. I think that we get the kind of the whole picture in the original. We get more of the soldiers, the people on the ground's perspective, or in the air perspective of what
Yeah, it's also
land, sea, and air.
Yeah,
It was like-
that was the three things. Number one, the mold, that's the sea.
yeah.
You had the land with the soldiers, and you had the air with the army.
Yeah, so and it was well crafted. If my ratings for the films out of 5 stars, I'm gonna give the original probably a 3.5, because I did really like the film. I thought it was. I've watched it several times now. I really like it. It's not a perfect film, like you said, the young boys, quote unquote. But it
Didn't have that many extras back then.
Yeah.
And it was an English production. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's well acted. It's well produced. It's well done. I'm gonna give the Christopher Nolan one a 4, because it's not perfect either.
No.
But I think it's a great film. I both those films, I'm gonna go back and watch them several times. I might actually end up buying them, to add to the physical collection.
Or you'll borrow them from me.
Or that. Or I'll inherit them from you, because you're going to leave
that's
them for me in your will.
Leave the whole library to
Which
me.
is hopefully 20 years from now.
I hope it is too.
Or more.
Or more.
I'll take whatever I can get at this point.
But yeah, so I'm at a 3.5 for the original and a 4 for the Nolan version. Out of 5 stars, what would you give the?
Out of 5 stars, I would do basically just reverse of what you do.
So you're going to give the original.
I'm going to give the original a 4
and the Nolan
new
version a 3.5.
3.5.
And you like both films. You just like the original a little bit better.
That's what I've been saying.
Did you like it better, the Nolan version? Did you like it better this time watching it as opposed to when we first watched it?
Again, with the new technology and everything else, and with the special effects and the color, and
Well, I'm saying
it's
we watched it brand new when it was out in 2017 in the theaters.
right.
I know you didn't like it then.
No.
Do you like it better now than you did then?
I would say probably yes,
Yeah.
because like I say, I've viewed that film probably since we went to the movies, probably 4, maybe 5 times.
Oh, you watched it several times since
Oh,
then?
yeah,
Oh, wow, I
several
didn't know that.
I have it at home.
You bought it?
Yeah.
I don't even know it.
Even though he was a hater, he was an appreciator.
No, you see, anytime it comes to history,
I didn't know you bought it. I
Yeah.
would have borrowed it from you so I could get the special features. God damn it.
special features are good
Thanks a
too.
lot, Santa.
I thought you hated it so
You-
much. You're
you
like,
should
fuck
know-
this movie. I'm not gonna buy it.
You should know me better than that by now. When
Yeah.
it comes to a war film, there's not too many I don't have.
Well, if we're gonna do our,
Although the steel helmet was one,
that was one that I introduced to you. but
right?
You didn't
And
know.
I liked it.
Did you know about the original Dunkirk from '58?
Yes,
You did?
yes.
probably contributed to his dislike of the Nolan.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you
I didn't know you knew. Well, I know. I'm
Because
actually.
you got to remember, you see, from '38, it's been seen and broadcast how many times, even before the new one came.
Well, that's true, but
I've seen it.
I'm gonna find more war films that you have not seen.
Nah, good luck. I got a list you haven't seen.
You've seen the Big Red One, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, but
now that one I have a hard time.
The steel. I know you talked about that, but the steel helmet that was brand new to you. You had never heard of that.
No, I hadn't seen it.
Had you heard of it?
I had heard of it.
Okay, all right. Well,
but I mean, you can hear about hundreds of different films, and some of them are stinkers.
Yeah, the steel helmet was awesome.
The steel helmet was good. Yeah, it was good.
I'm gonna buy that too at some point.
But when it comes to a war film that does a good job, definitely I'll buy it.
Okay. Well, I actually didn't know you bought it.
Oh yeah.
God damn.
And I got a surprise. I don't have to tell you on camera, but I got a couple of duplicates that I want to give.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah.
Andy, how about you, buddy?
I think I would agree with you.
You're with me?
Yeah, 58 is a 3.5.
Yeah, I think both films are just they're and you're not getting a shot for shot remake with the Nolan one.
Right.
You're getting something different.
Right.
Nolan's
that's what I'm taking in consideration.
Yeah,
that's
why
why
a little bit more distilled. The story's a little tighter. Less of like the.
It's kind of like
the minutia of like having to deal with the brass and how like their decision is affecting the runs and things like that. So you're just kind of getting to it as opposed to
build up to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a build up, but there's just kind of it's just tighter.
Yeah, Santa loves to build up. We didn't like it quite as much as he did, but both films are awesome. I would say check them out. I know
I would suggest it.
Yeah, watch them. Actually, watch them back to back because there's some great documentaries that are up on YouTube that talk about the Battle of Dunkirk, which I think I'm going to send to Andy so we can add that in the description. Check those out too because you're going to get like the actual story of Dunkirk too, and then we'll go and watch those films together. And they do something a little bit different, and you're going to get a better appreciation of the story of Dunkirk, which is super important.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's one of those miracles for.
It is a miracle.
Yeah.
I will say though, I did enjoy Richard Attenborough's character.
Mm-hmm. That is also something I appreciated about the original because you had civilians who were like they were ready to kind of go out, but then of course there's going to be people who's like, fuck this shit, I don't want to go over there. I have my family responsibilities. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
It's completely understandable. It's like, oh, this guy has a wife,
new baby, newborn,
which is completely understandable.
And his buckle company.
But, I mean, of course, it's not a perfect excuse because there are men who are in the same circumstances, but then they still went off to war or whatever. But I think it's good to have that perspective of that particular type of citizen who kind of thinks like, oh, of course I'm doing my part, but I'm just I have responsibility, but then my push comes.
I'm making buckles for the army. Yeah. The army needs buckles, right?
Yeah,
for the belts.
Yeah, but when it's time to really step up for your country, things like that.
When push came to shove,
he decides to go and volunteer.
Yeah, they're totally different wars. That's why. It's because it's like I've always said, if I had to be in a war, I'd rather be in World War II than Vietnam, because not of the evil of either one. What I was doing, I thought was very critical too.
But the country pulled together more so in World War II.
World War II, when you hit us at home, and technically it wasn't home at the time.
It wasn't.
It wasn't a state.
Yeah, it was territory. And but I compare it to it happened recently with the the two towers. Okay, the amount of people that died there were almost the same amount.
I joined the Navy.
That joined, in World War II.
Marines.
But there wasn't a line at the recruiter's office after the towers. There was during World War II.
Oh yeah, there was.
Yeah, and that kind of got me because I'm thinking, yeah, all of the wars have politics involved in it, and I knew the politics behind it. And I was thinking, hey, if I could go in again, I would, but I didn't. I'm too old for that.
I have a question for you, Gid, because I'm just kind of curious out of this. When Vietnam happened, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted because I was going to get drafted.
Oh, you're just like, well, fuck it. If I'm going to get drafted, I'm going to enlist.
Well, here's the difference.
Did you choose?
I'm not a big hero. I don't like the idea of being shot at.
No, I don't think any people.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to get shot at.
I have a sexual pleasure for being shot at.
What's that guy from Police Academy? Tackleberry?
No, but what I'm getting at is like you got to think of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had a lot of my friends that got drafted ahead of me. One of my best friends that I went through school with got drafted ahead of me.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to pick where he goes.
That's why you.
That's why I went in.
So you could pick the branch that you wanted to be in.
Well, one would. The draft was always the Army anyway.
Right.
Okay, and the others had enlistments, but it was like if you don't want to go in the Army, then go in the Navy or go in the Air Force or whatever.
Yeah. Did you want to go in the Army?
Maybe that's not bad.
I went in the Army for two reasons. One, I don't have the brain power to go Air Force because your modern day Air Force, those are all smart people.
They're fucking, yeah.
They're
a whole other.
In my opinion, they're at the top of the chain.
They're mechanical engineers.
There's a lot involved there.
Yeah.
And again, I know people have been in all the services. When I think about it now, I should have went Coast Guard, but I didn't.
Yeah, puddle pirates.
Yeah. But the difference is Navy. I've got bad inner ear, and all my family was in the Navy, but I didn't go Navy because I couldn't see me chumming my whole career.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, I would have went Navy. It wouldn't have bothered me to be on a ship.
Yeah.
I love the ships and go on them and visit them all the time.
You probably would have had a completely different experience.
Oh, I know I would. I have a good friend I worked with was in the Navy, and he complained because he was stuck what they call blue water Navy because he never put boots on the ground in Vietnam, so he didn't get benefits until recently. But anyway, that's another whole story.
I wonder, since
Marine.
You were going to default to Army, but I wonder about the situation with my dad. It's all men's mandatory. I think 2 years service. I wonder if he volunteered for the Marines. He did go into the Marines.
Yeah, he volunteered there. Yeah, he volunteered there. Because Marines were still volunteer unless the court said you're going.
Yeah, because the Korean Marines. So
yeah.
I wonder if there was like a similar thing where it's like if he.
Well, the regular U.S. Marine.
Yeah, I mean, if he did, if he was going to go into service anyways, I wonder if
maybe he wanted to do that.
To go into the Marines.
That could be. See, I didn't want to go in the. So that took care of the Navy. That took care of Air Force. When it came to the Marines. Their motto, God bless them, we need them. Let's take that hill, regardless if I get killed or not.
They're the first ones in.
Right, they're the first ones in. Not always.
No, usually.
But usually they're the first ones going in. Highest casualty. Okay. Coast Guard, I just didn't think of it. I really didn't. I didn't think of it.
I know, because people don't think of that as
there was Coast Guard in Vietnam. Not a lot of them, but some of them. Yeah. So I thought if I go Army and if I enlist, then I can try not to be on the front line. Right. I didn't want to be what we call a ground pounder.
You were trying to go to Germany, weren't you?
Well, no, that's another story. But no, see, I went in the Army and I enlisted so that I could pick pretty much what I wanted to do. Okay, because if you just get drafted, you're going to go where they want you to go.
Yeah.
And that 99% of them was
grunt.
And So I says, no, I'm going to go in. And when I took the test, now I did this purposely. And you know I'm an outdoor person.
Yeah.
I fish, hunt, camp, all that stuff. Always have. But when I took the test, do you like outdoors? No. Do you like camping? No. Do you like eating in the woods? No. Anything that had to do with outdoors or close to, do you like shooting? No. And I love shooting.
Yeah.
So I kind of like stacked the test so I wouldn't be a ground pounder. So I qualified for communications.
Nice.
So now I'm a radio jockey in the bush.
Well, you had the.
But
What kind of backfired there, didn't it?
yeah. And what was interesting was, it's called being in the right place at the right time. Part of my schooling is also engineering. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing is I did a few months of as a radio jockey. And then I got transferred down to, because again, it's a period of time of what we were doing at the time. We're scaling back. What they did was they moved a whole division of Marines out of Vietnam. Okay, at the time I went in. What they didn't tell the public was you just replaced them with Army.
So they think that we're like.
So they thought we were withdrawing, and here was this. Oh, we're withdrawing one full division to bring them home. Yay! They didn't tell them that we're replacing that division with Army. I got caught in that. So what happened when I graduated from my school? Okay, which I did my boot camp, and then there's another 8 weeks of schooling to be my radio jockey.
Yeah.
Ma Bell, basically, is the way to say it. Climb poles, string lines, all that. Operator, even. So anyway, make a long story short, we get ready to have our leave. Okay, we get our orders, and our orders said that we were going to Frankfurt, Germany. Now, my good buddy in high school that got drafted ahead of me is already in Germany, in communications.
Oh, no.
So I called him. We were talking. He says, hey, man, he says, I already talked to my CO. He says, if you get to Frankfurt, which is the replacement center, he says, he'll pull you, and you'll be here with me. And I went, oh,
Awesome.
man, I was dancing in the clouds, right? And so we had a 30-day leave, and then we were going to go. So we had another 3 or 4 days before we processed out of Fort Ord. And they turned around and they came to us in an assembly and they said, now our class had close to 31 people. And so they got us together in one morning and they said, well, we got good news and we got bad. He says, good news is you're not going to get, that's the way the Army is, you're not going to get the 30-day leave. You're only going to get 2 week leave. He says,
That's the good news?
that's the good news.
Oh, Jesus.
And so we go, that's the good news? Yeah, we're all waiting for that. Now you have to also realize the whole time we were in school, we're watching the graduating classes out of these other schools.
Yeah.
They were going Frankfurt, Germany, Frankfurt, Germany, Frankfurt. Well, I mean, Frankfurt, home, States, Frankfurt, home, like that. Okay, the whole 8 weeks.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
because we didn't know about this division pullout.
Yeah.
So comes up and he says, you guys are all going to Vietnam.
Shit.
You could have heard a pin fart.
God damn.
And then what happened was, out of the 31 people, only, I think it was 18 were there the next day. They went to Canada.
Yeah.
They went to Canada.
Yeah.
And
Perfectly reasonable reaction.
I didn't think so. Because I thought about it. You know, of course it come across my mind, but then you got to understand, if you go to Canada, and this is, who knew they're going to give them amnesty, which I still feel is bullshit. Because what's going to happen when you really need them and you don't like where you're going? It's not a good thing.
You're kind of setting a precedent.
That's right. And they got amnesty. So what's the penalty? Because see, at that time, what's the penalty? You're a traitor, number one. Number two, you cannot come back into the United States. Number three, you have to live the rest of your life in Canada or somewhere else. But it's not the United States. So I'm going, that's an awful toe. And then what got me more than anything is my moral and religious background.
It's like, this is...
And I thought, well, no, I thought of this. I says, now, if I don't go, someone has to go in my place.
Right.
Now, what if that person dies? That's on me. That's on me.
You feel responsible.
Right. And so I said, no. I says, I'll go and take my chances.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. I'll go and take my chances. And that's what I did. But there was a lot of them that, seriously, half the darn class was gone the next morning.
God.
When they found out they were going to know.
Like I said, I understand like what, why they did that, but yeah, I get what you're saying too. It's just like, yeah,
yeah, I could have went to Canada, but see, hindsight's 20/20 too.
Yeah.
You know, they give those guys amnesty, which I don't believe they should. Because not only that,
did they tell you were already dead?
No, I got that when I was there. The first day I landed there, the air base got rocket attacked. The same day.
Jesus.
Welcome to Vietnam.
Yeah.
What was it? We because I know you don't watch a lot of Vietnam War films.
No.
Yeah, I did, and I don't blame you. But like, We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
That same fucking thing happens. Like, they're like landing and the fucking helicopter gets shot down or
Yeah.
some shit like that. It's like, God, fuck.
Yeah, and the first thing everybody said on the plane, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, I says, man, I'm not going to make the whole fucking year. Because you got a year to do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then, you know, besides the heat, the smell, even just opened the door of the plane and it smelled like a garbage dump.
Yeah, and when you talk about like, wait, you smell like shit. You're like, nope, you're right back in there.
Oh, yeah.
It pisses you off.
If I smell that, it gets me.
Yeah.
But there's not too many Vietnamese that are even here that were smugglers that got here. Or on the black market or whatever.
Just don't go to Westminster.
Yeah, don't go to a couple of towns.
Yeah.
They're not making milk mum, it's called.
Yeah.
Which is rotten cabbage.
Oh.
They bury it in the ground, they let it rot, then they bring it up and make soup out of it.
Yeah.
It smells, well, I shouldn't say it on here because it's a nasty word.
Smell like shit?
No, that's pleasant. That's pleasant.
Yeah.
No,
It
it's
would be an upgrade.
yes, yes. That you can breathe.
But yeah,
And that smell lingers. I mean, that's why even the gooks, they don't eat it because we could smell them.
yeah.
But civilians ate it all over the place. And you'd smell the pot cooking. Oh, God.
I mean,
We'd walk through town and go, oh, there's a shithole.
Yeah.
There's a shithole. They're cooking it.
Yeah. Well, Darrell, thank you for coming on.
Oh,
Talk
no
about
problem.
Dunkirk.
Yeah.
I know you're when we talk about World War II films, the person I think to bring on is you, buddy.
Well, I appreciate it. I have quite a collection of them. And
I actually had no idea that you had freaking Dunkirk on Blu-ray. Sure. Why didn't you tell me?
you didn't ask.
Well, you thought you hated
Don't
the
ask
movie.
yourself.
Hey, I give you how many, when I see you, I give you a list of ones.
I know. I thought you.
And then what throws me more is like when he first said, I said, well, of course you've seen Bridge of River Kwai. And he goes, no, I just about fell off the seat. That's an Oscar
The
winner.
whole time, because I haven't seen it.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
I know.
I know of it, but I've never seen it. I've seen like little like snippets here and there.
He's
like,
seen the snippets.
as I'm like flipping through and like turn classic movies or something. It's,
No, you got to see it.
I know,
It's
I gotta watch
really good.
It's great. But no, it's like I didn't know you had Dunkirk. I thought you hated the film. It's like, oh, of course he's not gonna buy this one.
No, if I say I'm not really going to buy it, then it's really got to be a stinker.
Yeah. I was like, well,
But like I said, where it fell for me was less than what I thought of the old one, but it was still good.
Yeah, but you had seen the original.
But I wanted it. I wanted it so that it's in my library with the rest of my stuff as well. That's why I buy a lot of them.
Yeah, well, like I said, when it comes to World War II or other war films besides Vietnam, you're the guy that.
Yeah, see, and there's a couple out there I hear that are pretty good. It's just.
Yeah, we never bring you on for like Platoon or like.
Yeah, Platoon is hard.
Apocalypse Now is probably
even
hard.
Apocalypse Now is kind of hard.
Well, even you said like for you the Big Red One is kind of hard.
Big Red One is harder for me.
Yeah, that's a tough film.
That's a tough film.
I'm gonna be doing a review on channel.
What hurts us more than anything is the friends that we lose.
Yeah.
And how we lose them.
Yeah.
And that's the part that just never goes away.
Yeah. I'm gonna be doing the Big Red One on another channel here in a few weeks.
That's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Well, and that is a.
And so
that's
is
a
the
personal story to that director because that's his story.
Oh, is it?
It's his personal story of like what he went through in World War II. Samuel Fuller, the guy who did the Seal Helmet that we just covered.
Right.
It's a really good film.
It's really good.
I really like that film, but it's a difficult watch.
It's a hard watch, and I don't know. It's been quite a while now. I probably could watch it. I don't know. I just always avoid
It's
it.
Mark Hamill's best film, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's not like it's not a good film. It's a great film.
Yeah, well,
it's probably that and Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket's got to be really tough for you.
And that one's harder for me, I think, than
the first half of that film is fucking awesome, and then like
but
the
now
second
if
half
you go
is
get
difficult.
the old Big Red one.
There's a
There's
so
an older,
1980. That's the new one. There's another one.
yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
What's the old one?
The old one is Big Red One for World War II.
No.
But it goes back. God, when was that?
When did that come out?
Probably in late 40s, early 50s.
I
would think so. I would think so. And it's more of a story of how the big one started. Yeah.
Because I know, like, it opens up, like, it starts with, like, Lee Marvin's character in World War I, and then he's a leader in World War II, that he's the one that started.
Well, he was in World War II.
I know Lee Marvin was.
Yeah.
But no, I'm saying, like, the movie itself starts with Lee Marvin's character in World War I, and then it talk about, like,
there's another
the formation of Big Red One.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. That this one's more about how it came together to be the Big Red One, and then their escapade.
Oh, shit. I didn't know this.
And then when, because I can still see the closing scene in my brain.
Well, I gotta check this out now. There's so many. There's so many of these World War II movies to check out that I have.
Well, you got to remember, a lot of them came out after the war.
Well, I know that.
A whole bunch of them.
Well, that was also what was unique about the Seal Helmet movie. That is because that was the Korean War was still going on while this film came out. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a.
Well, see, a Korean War is another one that's misunderstood, and
nobody talks about the Korean
and nobody talks about it, and because it was a short war.
Yeah.
But
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years is short compared to the others.
Yeah,
that
my
we've been
parents
through.
were born in that time.
Oh yeah. I was at the end of it.
Yeah. No, thank you for coming on. Talk about the Dunkirk versus Dunkirk.
No problem. Because I love the movies, and I love. It's not so much the war movies as it is the history.
Yeah. Well, and
I love the history of it.
Yeah, and I think both films kind of do justice to the story in their own way. But yeah, I encourage you guys to check out the documentaries about this. There's a whole bunch of other stuff about Dunkirk, and it's an important part of World War II. It's there's not many things where the history could be completely different. It's like this one day could have changed everything, or this 1 week could have changed everything. Well, this is one of those times where this is true. And yeah, check out both films. Check out the documentaries. If you're fans of World War II, obviously, you're going to love it. But yeah, that's going to be the show for today. If you want to find us for Circle of Jerks, we have a weekly live stream, Nocturnal Transmissions, every Tuesday around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. If you are you want to hit us up on Instagram, it's Circle of Jerks at Circle of Jerks Podcast, or on Twitter, or now it's X, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, so stupid.
Dude, Elon is trying to name things X forever.
I don't.
They're fighting that too right now.
And even PayPal was initially going
Supposed to be X.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a lawsuit going on right now.
Right.
Because he wasn't supposed to use it. Trademark.
Yeah.
And
So
then
yeah, he's like kind of getting around it by Tesla X, Space X.
Yeah.
that.
Well, now you can hit us up at X.
Yeah.
At podcast COJ. You can post to us or whatever the fuck. I don't know. It's so
You can
send us some
excess. You can excess.
yeah. It's like, that's so stupid. At podcast COJ, or you can check us out at on Letterboxd at podcast COJ. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will see you next time.
Deuces.
Take care.
I'm a jerk.